I was a manager at a small casino where a blackjack tournament was taking place. Before my eyes, one of the players had a heart attack. It was the end of the round. As soon as the hand was discarded and this man won, I was about to congratulate him when I suddenly realized something was wrong. He clutched his chest and his lips instantly turned blue. It so happened that the woman playing against him was a nurse. She immediately realized what was happening. She immediately rushes to him and starts giving him artificial respiration. She took the situation into her own hands as if she were the hero of some film. All this was quite terrible, but at the same time, awe-inspiring. 2 weeks later, this man came to our casino to say that he was okay. For me, this situation turned out to be quite crazy because I witnessed a person almost die. I will also never forget the eyes of that man at the moment when he realized that he was about to die. I will never forget that. I work in court. One day, I witnessed the death of an elderly woman. She was a victim in the case and was testifying against the suspect. She looked quite calm and cold-blooded at that moment. After she finished testifying, she came out from behind the stand, took a few steps, and suddenly stumbled, and then bam, hit her head on the floor and died. Everyone immediately ran up to her. Then everyone realized that she was already dead. Doctors who immediately ran into the courtroom said that this woman died of a heart attack. The worst thing about this story is that her whole family was in the courtroom at the time and saw it all. Can you imagine your loved one suddenly dying in front of you? This shit still haunts me in my dreams. I work at the zoo. I am absolutely sure that the man who came to us one day wanted to be peed on by a lion. Let me explain a little now. If you have never seen videos of lions peeing, be sure to watch them. Male lions can pee up to 3 meters away. Sometimes they pee from their enclosure right onto visitors. Their urine smells just incredible. And besides, it is not so easy to wash off clothes. Ordinary water is not enough. We even have signs warning people that lions can pee on you. One day, a guy came to us and immediately went to see the lions. He stood 2 meters from the cage. I went up to him and warned him that he could be pissed on. He just ignored me. Half an hour later, I noticed that he is still standing in the same place, standing almost motionless. I tell him, I wasn't kidding about the pee. Sometimes they pour people even through the cage. He nodded to me and moved back a little. 10 minutes later, I saw that he had approached the cage even closer than before. I thought, well, screw you. It's not my fault if you get pissed on. I told my colleagues about this guy. Half an hour later, our guard said that the lion had pissed on that guy. We thought that now he would be furious. He will swear at us as visitors usually do in such situations. But no, he was extremely calm. He just left the zoo, got into his car, all covered in lion pee, and drove away. The most unpleasant thing about the situation is that we received complaints from other visitors because that guy was walking around all covered in pee and interfering with all the visitors with his stench. And he smelled worse than a garbage can. Nevertheless, all the zoo employees were laughing at this guy for a whole week. A terrible fire once broke out in the store where I work. We evacuated all the people, but one elderly woman did not want to leave. She told me that she has every right to shop in any store she wants to, even in a hot one. I couldn't persuade her to leave the premises. I had to balance between saving her and losing my job because of her if she filed a complaint against me. Fortunately, a very charismatic and respected firefighter joined us. He just walked up to her, picked her up in his arms, and carried her out of the store. I was so happy about this. Thank God everything worked out. I had a similar story. One day, our employee, I don't know why, announced over the loudspeaker that the building was in danger of exploding. It was 2 weeks after 9/11. Everyone, of course, ran out of the building in a panic except for one old woman. She was too busy shopping and didn't want to leave. We had good discounts that day. I didn't start persuading her. Then I went out and reported her to the firefighters. I work at a hotel. The elevator in our hotel has not worked since I got this job. And once my colleagues told me a rather creepy story. It turned out that the elevator was not working because one of the guests had beaten his girlfriend and friend to death in it. The elevator walls are still covered in blood. That guy, of course, was arrested. I worked at a car wash. Our building was divided into 3 parts. A tunnel where cars travel along paths and are washed automatically. workplaces where we sit and control all the equipment and the speed of the track, and a cozy hall where our clients sit with Wi-Fi, coffee, TV, and so on. A new worker came to work for us. It was a small 30-year-old Asian named Tom. He was a very inexperienced worker. One day, there was a day when we had a lot of clients, and we assigned Tom to manage one of the washing machines, although they were not completely sure of him. Apparently, he didn't know how to adjust the speed of the track, and because of this, one of the cars just flew out of the tunnel at high speed and crashed into the car in front. Then we started yelling at Tom to fix everything. After that, he turned the lever in the other direction. The car flew back out now and crashed into other cars. It rammed them and crashed into a concrete wall. Our clients went outside and saw that all their cars were smashed to smithereens. Tom just took off his work uniform, left the building, and just ran away to hell. It was extremely unpleasant. All this was happening for several weeks. One of the managers at my work from another department met a woman. Then it turned out that she was addicted to cocaine, and she was dating him only for the money. In short, she forced him to sell all his property, including the house, and give her all the money, which she, of course, spent on drugs. In the end, he became homeless. He bought a cheap trailer and now lives in it near our company building. When the authorities found out about all this, he was fired. I miss that guy. Tom, I hope you're okay, buddy. Apparently, after all this, Tom got a job at a car wash, crashed a bunch of cars, and was fired again. Poor Tom. How unlucky he is. I'm a bartender and often work at weddings. Once, I was working at a wedding as usual, and it was just awful. After everyone drank, the situation only worsened. Soon after lunch, we heard screams and swearing start to ring out. Then it turned out that the bridesmaids were fighting. Guests were trying to break them up. They were fighting right at a giant 5-story cake. Then one pushed the other, and she fell right on this giant cake. She demolished it completely. I have never seen such a terrible and at the same time fun event. Warning, this is not a funny story. I worked in a hospital as a phlebotomist. A phlebotomist is a doctor who practices bloodletting. One of my colleagues had problems with her husband. He returned from military service with severe depression and paranoia. She said that her husband sometimes beats her and her children. One time, this woman took her children to work so that they would not be staying with her crazy husband. She also called the police. The cops took his weapons from him and took him to the station. But since they had no reason to detain this man because there was no evidence that he was mentally ill, he was released and given back his weapons. A couple of hours after all this, he went to the hospital, found his wife, and shot her. He then shot himself too. A link to the story will be in the description. Once during my shift, a part of a giant mechanism broke down at our factory. Then a piece of metal weighing 10,000 pounds collapsed 10 feet down, landing about 6 feet from one of the workers. At that time, I was the shift supervisor, and I frantically counted all the people to make sure that no one was crushed. My heart is still pounding wildly at the mere thought of it. We followed the safety protocol very precisely. It was just a terrible accident. Fortunately, no one was injured. When I worked in a retail store in the early 2000s, one of our employees dropped a TV from a high ladder on a customer's head. The TV was far from a flat-screen TV. That guy, did he survive? Yes, the TV was about 16 inches or so. The victim received healthy compensation from my bosses, and that guy was fired. I also work in a store. One time I saw that one of the employees accidentally dropped a couple of boxes from a high shelf. As soon as one of the customers saw this, she immediately tried to dump under these boxes so that she could then sue us and sue a bunch of money. But fortunately, she didn't have time. This is just disgusting. I'm a nurse. One time I saw a severed human leg being transported on a cart, or a 5-kilogram tumor that had just been removed. In both cases, I felt extremely bad. When I was a student, I worked as a driver and I drove many celebrities. I was also in the National Guard. Usually my clients are famous athletes, politicians, actors, millionaires, and so on. One day, I was returning to the parking lot and decided to stop by 7-Eleven along the way to grab some things for my next trip. In all stores, as you know, there are double doors to block out all sorts of thieves and others if possible.